At this lab near Oxford, a medieval helmet owned by Canterbury Cathedral has been brought here for a groundbreaking experiment. This helmet is said to have once belonged to the enigmatic knight, the Black Prince. In an experiment that sounds as though it's been pulled from the pages of science fiction, we're going to find out if this ancient piece of armour really has royal connections or is just mere decoration. This is a story over 600 years in the making. This is the story of the Prince and the Neutron Blaster.
You've got him?
Yeah.
All yours.
All mine.
Make way! Make way!
These are the Paladins of Chivalry, a group of medieval reenactors. Every year, they come to Canterbury Cathedral to lay flowers on the tomb of the Black Prince.
The Black Prince is the epitome of medieval society, all that was good in society. He was a man of honour, he was a benefactor to charitable causes, to the church, and to people in need and lower status. He did his job as a figurehead of society, and we want to uphold those morals today.
Edward of Woodstock, more commonly known as the Black Prince, was born in 1330 and was the eldest son of Edward III. He was the Prince of Wales and only the second person to hold that title. He was a warrior revered by the English and feared by the French.
He's one of our greatest war leaders, a man who embodied the spirit of chivalry in the Middle Ages.
Nobody knows for sure how the Black Prince got his mysterious nickname, but we do know he died in 1376 after a long illness. He'd made meticulous plans for a grand tomb topped with a life-sized gilt copper effigy of himself, but there was something else he wanted.
But if you look above the effigy, you'll see that there are actual pieces of arms and armour.
This photo, taken in the 1890s, shows the Black Prince's arms and armour, known collectively as his achievements. In his will, he asked for them to be hung above his tomb, which is where they've stayed for centuries. Knights like the Black Prince believed they had been bestowed with God-given powers to help defend their people and defeat their enemies. These superpowers were symbolised by their arms and armour.
The idea behind setting up the arms and armour that they wore in life, it's a symbolic return to God of those powers.
But the cathedral wants to know something about these items, the achievements. Are they even more special than they think?
One of the eternal questions is, were they constructed for the funeral? Did they actually belong to the Black Prince? Were they actually used in his lifetime?
So, is it possible that the items were used in battle by the Black Prince? To help answer this question, the experts have taken down the helmet, which they called the helm. And they've sent it to the Rutherford Appleton Laboratory near Oxford, the home of ISIS, the name given to one of the world's few neutron blasters. Here, conservators from the Wallace collection and a team of top scientists will look at the helmet in greater detail, much greater detail.
What we have inside this chamber is the helm of the Black Prince, and a neutron beam is passing through him.
The Neutron Blaster is like a super-powered microscope. It accelerates protons to near the speed of light, which releases neutrons that allow scientists to study the atomic structure of the helm.
We can't see this atom land. It's too small, it's kind of too far away almost, as it were. Neutrons we use as tools. We use them as spies. We send our neutrons in. They scout out that land that we can't see by another technique, and they come back and tell us what they've seen.
This type of experiment is groundbreaking, giving scientists a chance to look inside historical artefacts without causing any damage. It reveals much more than an old-fashioned X-ray. The neutrons can look at the helm's atomic structure and show whether it's received any blows in the heat of battle, even if they've been repaired at a later date. It will take 12 hours to fully examine the helm. Only then will we know if this is an ornate prop made for the prince's funeral or a piece of armour he actually used in battle. A grand tomb and his achievements weren't the only things the Black Prince left behind that we still have today. Another thing is in our small change. It came to us from a battlefield in the 100 Years' War.
The 100 Years' War was a war between England and France for the right to hold the crown of France.
And this was where the Black Prince saw action at just 16 years of age in 1346 at the Battle of Crecy. He and his father were fighting the King of France and his ally, the King of Bohemia.
And his father, Edward III, had put him there to make him a target for the French, to goad the French to come on, capture his son. And the prince was in considerable danger, and according to the chronicler Jean Froissart, a desperate messenger said, "You've got to help your son," said this to the king, "or he'll be overwhelmed." And this is tough love, 14th century style. The king apparently said, "Let him win his spurs."
The Black Prince did indeed win his spurs and was victorious. The King of Bohemia was killed in the battle.
When the prince and his father, Edward III, were inspecting the slain on the morrow after the battle, they found the King of Bohemia with his followers, tethered together. They fought and died as one.
The prince was so impressed by the courage of the King of Bohemia that he took his emblem of the ostrich feathers and the motto Ich dien, which means I serve. The British Museum owns one of the badges the prince had made to mark his victory at Crecy, but you don't have to go to a museum to be reminded of his success.
Well, if you were to look in your pocket today and you were to pull out a 2-pence piece, you would see on the 2-pence piece 3 ostrich feathers inside of a crown with a motto saying Ich dien. This sign is the modern symbol of the Prince of Wales.
The Black Prince was the first Prince of Wales to use this symbol, which means it's been passed on for centuries. At the Wallace Collection in London, we can finally reveal the results of the experiment. The helm is the real deal.
It shows evidence of damage in combat. Its physical characteristics show us conclusively that it is a piece of war equipment. It is not ceremonial. It is not for jousting or tournaments or sports use. It is war. It is a fighting helm. And that is what gives it meaning as a symbol.
I really am finding it difficult to find the right words to explain to you how it felt for us to know that this item that we work with, that we know, may have been in that royal household and may have been used on battlefields that you learn about in history.
This is just another chapter in the story. And it doesn't stop here. The scientists are planning more experiments to see what else they can find out about the enigmatic Black Prince.